What is going on YouTube? Chrono here, and welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to be going over the new units that we got post Stia release. But before we jump into that, guys, if you're new to the channel, like I mentioned, my name is Chrono. I cover primarily PSO2 content. We'd much appreciate a subscribe as we work our way towards that 10k mark, hopefully by March. Anyway, let's go ahead and jump into this. So what you'll probably notice offhand when you get on the video is that this one is much shorter than the weapons video. Units are actually a lot easier to talk about since we don't have to deal with things like potentials or anything along those lines, and their investments tend to be a lot better overall. Usually you'll find that you're just upgrading augments on units, not necessarily units, nearly as much as you would weapons. That being said, they are still an important conversation to have because we do get access to some pretty interesting stuff post Stia release. First, we're going to talk about the 4 units that we had upon entering Stia. We've got Belgren, and I'm probably going to mispronounce this, I think it's Ephetus armor. Well, Belgren, you might have been in the category of people who picked up Belgren armor, super augmented it, and then just hung on to that for the rest of the Kavaris region, i.e. myself. Or you might be in the category of people who jumped over to the Ephetus armor as soon as they saw it because realistically they didn't want to deal with the negative resistances that were Belgren, and they didn't really care for the minus 40 HP. Now, regardless of what camp you personally were in, without thinking about augments or anything along those lines, the Ephetus armor was king. It had the highest damage rolls on it. It didn't have to deal with negative damage resistances, so it was pretty nice to have access to. And with the launch of Stia, they actually have gone a bit of a different route overall when it comes to armor. So we've got 3 new armors that we've got. There is the new, I guess you'd call them Gigantics armor, that drops off Gigantics enemies and drops off of Purple Battle Dia. I'm probably gonna also mess this up, the Eclairer armor. I'm just gonna call it the Giga armor moving forward. And then we have the Vio and Vita armors. Vita providing you 3% across the board with 55 HP. Vio providing you 10 PP, 3% across the board. And the Eclairer armor, or the Giga armor, providing you 4% across the board and minus 5% damage resistance. As you can see, this is a pretty far departure from the armor balance we previously had. In regions before this, we would have something like the Giga armor being, of course, the strongest choice. However, you'd have all these negative damage resistances. This is the 4th region and the first region that we've had to deal with a situation where we don't have negative damage resistances. We don't have negative HP. However, we also don't have PP investment. So in the past, we've always had high amounts of PP, high damage with, less HP, and then you had to deal with damage resistances. Well, you don't have to deal with that this time around if you opt to go the Giga route. And to be honest, that's what I chose to do. It is a little bit more difficult seeing that you have a bit less PP, but we'll talk about why I went this route in just a moment. So you're probably about 3 minutes in and thinking to yourself, why is he talking about the previous region armor still? Like, why does it matter? Well, upon entering the Stia region, we found new red boxes, and in these red boxes, we got the Ephetus armor sets at plus 50. Now, usually that doesn't really matter very much, but they come with one very important augment, Mastery 4. Mastery 4 is one of 5 of the best in slot augments you can currently use in the game right now, and realistically speaking, the Ephetus armor is not that bad. It's not far behind unless you're pushing that Gigas armor. Because of this puts Vio and Vita in a little bit of a weird spot. You essentially get a best in slot augment on a piece of gear for less than the cost of the augment itself. Most of these armors are running about 1.5 mil, and a single capsule for Mastery 4 is going to run you usually about 2.5 to 3 mil overall. So, and granted, these prices are on ship too, so I would say check your own ships just to make sure, but at least looking at the ships that I took a look at the time, you end up spending more on one augment than you would on the entire unit. Because of this, unless you just feel the itch to want to upgrade gear from what you had previously, let's say that you weren't someone who went Belgren or Ephetus because you figure they're too expensive, it's too close to the region. Unless you're someone who's in that camp, if you're already rocking Arga and you're not going to go to the Giga armor, I wouldn't really recommend upgrading anywhere past that. You're not getting any more potency. Realistically, you're just trading off HP and PP back and forth, and you could probably just spend a little bit and get yourself a Mastery 4 set of armor. Even as it stands right now, a lot of the players who push really, really high content are going to be looking to hawk their old armor. They're going to be selling it, and it's going to be sold with best in slot armor augments from the previous region, which, to be perfectly honest, aren't very far behind what our current augment setups are. Now, if you would ask me, what should you upgrade to, where should you go, so on and so forth, if you're not going to the Gigas armor, and you already have the Aphetis armor, just stay there. If you're going to like say Vita and Vio, I don't think it's worth it unless you really want to trade off that HP and PP situation. Upgrading that armor set and then spending on what you could just realistically get for free just doesn't make much sense, right? The Aphetis armors are coming with stat 4s and mastery 4. That's 2 out of 5 augments for you already. Granted, mastery or stat 4 is not actually a part of the BIS augment setup. Technically, you actually replace stat 4 with mastery 4, but that's a conversation for another video. Regardless of the situation, they're both really good augments. They do fantastic amounts of damage, and you can replace Triple and Atlas or Alt Secreta 3, or you can keep Alt Secreta 3, and all you need to do is slap on a Gigas, slap on a Soul, and you already have a well built piece of armor. If you're not someone who's pushing the highest level of content in the first place, if you were to come to me and say, hey, look, man, here's my armor that I've got right now, how well am I doing? I would say you're doing better than a lot of other people, than most, to be perfectly honest. If I was building for, let's say, an alt, or if I was coming back to the game, my goal would be getting this Aphetis armor and then slapping those few augments in there and just chilling with that until I can build up some stuff to make my Gigas armor. So if I had to tell you what armor is kind of worth going after right now in the current region, it's either setting up like a close to, if not best in slot setup on the Giga armor, or using the Aphetis armor that came from the boxes. Buy up what you need while you have the chance, because honestly, these prices might continue to go up. Or look around for someone who's selling off their previous region's gear to snipe it at a good price. I can give you a little bit of a hint that I know a good friend of mine is selling off his melee gear right now on the augment, or fully augmented on the market right now, and he's selling it for 5 mil each. And I had like 93% melee power. Like, it's insane on how much you're gonna get out of that piece of gear. So you definitely should jump up and grab a hold of it if you're trying to get a good melee setup. And if you're still using Belgren armor, I'm not gonna tell you you're throwing, but you're kind of throwing. Realistically, there's no reason to deal with negative resistances anymore. You can decide when you want to upgrade yourself, and if you're someone who can deal with all of the negatives from it, that's totally fine, but the reality is you don't need to anymore. We're in a new age when it comes to armor, and you can get out of that fairly inexpensively and actually get into more damage, funny enough, right? Because the Aphetis armor is still stronger than the Belgren. Anyway, guys, let me know if you guys have any other questions in the comments below. Maybe I missed something. There might be some other like little diamond in the rut that I completely passed over. I am only one person and I am not perfect. Huge shout out to my stream, as well as my friends who have helped me with looking into tons of gear and who have just helped me bounce ideas off of them, whether it be in my DMs or over in our Discord. You guys are a super huge help. I did want to go ahead and toss out an apology as well. This video should have been out yesterday. I am really bad at time management, and IRL tends to take over in a lot of situations that I just kind of throw everything else out when it needs to be handled. So either way, we're going to do our best to try to keep on somewhat of a schedule. I've already got the next 2 videos planned, and they're about halfway done, so those should be out fairly soon. Next, we're going to be talking about augments, so stick around if you're curious of what the good augment setup is going to be and what people are telling other people are what they should be going for in reality is a bit of a trap, and I would stay away from. Anyway, guys, like if you enjoyed the video, subscribe if you want to keep up with more, and I'll see you all next time. Take care. Peace out.